Hello, my name is Stephen Flynn from BCM 215, and I'm here to record my video for my DA report. And I'm gonna have to do this on my phone because my computer's bugging out, so sorry about that. But stick with me. Now, my DA was on the Super Smash Bros. Game series, trying to analyze the games, and I guess determine which installment of the franchise you could consider the best one. I guess I separated into a couple categories, though, depending on my three concepts that I'd come up with. Now, my concepts were game mechanics, playable characters, like the roster, and then the player base / like the community of each game. Because I have played all these games, and I've played them since I was a kid, so I got a lot of strong opinions about each one. So these concepts kind of help give me a good guide for research and for ranking the games that would kind of stay away from my bias a little bit. And I'd say it worked for the most part. Now, my original plan was to make something of a YouTube video or video with footage that I could acquire from playing each game, and then just kind of add some commentary on top of that and talk about the games as I show footage from them. But unfortunately, I had run into some issues trying to get all the games. For example, I had Ultimate on my Switch, but somehow the data got corrupted on that, and then I tried downloading Melee on my computer, but that didn't exactly work. And then I realized I also might need a different controller for each game, as they all come from different consoles, and you can't really just download all of them on the computer, which was something I didn't completely expect. But I did have Brawl on the Wii here, so I spent a lot of time getting footage from Brawl, and then I couldn't get any of the other games downloaded, so I had to scrap that idea, and I eventually decided to do a podcast instead with my friend Peter, who is he's also a big fan of the games, Smash games, and we used to play a lot together back in the day. And he's something of an expert when it comes to the Smash games. He's also kind of up to date with the Smash competitive scene, so it was cool to get his opinions on various things. Now, while I did have to throw away all of my Brawl footage, at the same time I also got some good research done on my concepts in terms of analyzing the Smash games. So I found some pretty good articles which help explain them. Like, for example, one article that kind of helped explain the mechanics of the games. This one sort of focused on Smash Melee, the second installment of the series, which is by far the most technical and has the most advanced mechanics. This article called Virtuosos on the Screen, Playing Virtual Characters Like Instruments in Smash Bros. Melee. Kind of like the title suggests, it compares the mastery of characters in Smash Bros. Melee to mastering a musical instrument, which was a good point to bring up at the podcast because Peter is a big Melee fan, and Melee fans, they love that game, and they love to practice a lot and put a lot of time into it, and it really pays off when you kind of look at the gameplay that can happen in that. Which I also found a video, which with some of Peter's help, called Perfect Dark, which is this YouTube video from like 2011, which just shows like some of the crazy combos and mechanics that Melee has to offer. And if you're not familiar with the Smash games, it really won't look like much is going on in the video. But if you know a little about Melee, it's pretty impressive to see. And then for the other concepts, I found a couple of other articles too. Like in terms of the community, I found one called it was talking about performances community survival, which kind of talks about a little how the Melee community has survived for so long, and the competitive scene is still so strong, even though that was the second installment of the game, and they've made 3 other games after that. But yet Melee is still like the top of the professional gameplay. So it kind of just describes how diehard the fans can be, which was kind of cool to read. Then I found some other articles, like one article called pull up here. Well, it's called Playing with the Rules, Social and Cultural Aspects of Game Rules in a Console Game Club. It talks about like rules in console games and fans, but it focuses a little bit on Smash Bros. And it brings up this event called Random Smash, which is something I hadn't heard about before reading this. And it was kind of this event where people would get together and someone would like roll a die or spin a wheel, and people would move chairs, and someone would be blindfolded. They'd be playing Smash with the characters invisible and the damage way up or something. I don't know. The whole goal was to kind of take away all competitive edge from Smash games, or from Smash. Because at the point this was big was around the time of Melee, when the mechanics were just like so intense that an entry-level player stood no chance against someone who plays the game for a while. And it kind of created a small split in the community. Some didn't really like this, and others thought that it was, they're a big fan of just putting a lot of practice into it and showing the skills pay off. Which both this kind of split kind of helped create Brawl, which was the next game in the series for the Wii, which is almost the opposite of Melee. It's slow. It doesn't encourage fast-paced gaming at all. It was not even the same game, But then I found my third concept was the character roster, and this impacts the game a lot more than people think. And I found one article, a case study in learning metagames, Super Smash Bros. Melee, which has this nice chart that kind of shows all the characters pitted against each other and who is the advantage. But then it goes on to talk about character specializations, which is something that really draws me to the game. It's probably my favorite part, actually. There's so many different characters, and each one works differently. While some of them may have similar moves and whatnot, they all have very different stats, and they all play differently, especially in a game like Melee, where it's just so frame perfect, and the timing makes a big difference that if you switch characters, it takes a while to learn a different character's timing. So yeah, I was able to use these articles a lot in the podcast to kind of form questions and kind of shape the discussion that I was having with Peter. And I also asked him for his input and his opinions on various articles that I found. So yeah, the research that I did definitely paid off. So as for like what I learned from doing this, I guess I learned that planning in advance is kind of not one of my strong suits. Because if I had a little more foresight, maybe I would have realized how hard it would have been to get all the games downloaded and actually play them. But I also kind of learned the importance of just doing different kinds of research, because I was able to salvage a lot of the research I had done. Not all of it went to waste. And yeah, that definitely paid off. And then I also learned a lot about the games itself, like going through the different articles and websites. Like I found one kind of, I guess old Reddit would be the best way to describe it, which is just kind of talking about like, there's all these people from 2008 talking about how disappointed they are with Brawl. And there was another side of people talking about that they really enjoyed it actually, in the slower gameplay. So, it's kind of interesting to see, because you hear a lot about people being disappointed in the game, but I never really thought that there'd be that many people who actually supported the change back in the day. So yeah, it was a pretty enlightening process, the research. The podcast I enjoyed a lot. It's good to catch up with Peter. It was pretty nostalgic hearing him talk about Smash Bros. In the same way he used to. So yeah, it was definitely a fun experience. And I'd say I took away a lot from it. Alright, well, that's my video. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.